This is it, everyone. The final battle is set to begin in Empathy Chapter 30, Confrontation. In the last chapter, our heroes managed to get back together, and they discovered the deal between Yokai and the Gorg. You see, as we all know, or not know, so spoiler alert, Yokai is actually Professor Callahan. He made a deal with the Gorg in order to reclaim his lost daughter Abigail, who was captured by him, in exchange for something else. To that end, the Gorg was actually behind Callahan setting the fire at the SFIT Expo Hall. Now that our heroes have discovered it, they've decided to let Riley and Tip come along with them in order to defeat them and save O and Riley's father, who are also being held captured along with Alistair Krei. To that end, Riley has decided to embrace her new superhero identity of Shiro Kitsune. So, without further ado, and hopefully I'll be able to do this within a whole day or tomorrow because this chapter is ridiculously long, let's read this chapter. Wasabi's van, now in its hover mode, flew over the roofs of the city's buildings, rocketing towards the KreiTech campus, Baymax flying alongside it with Hiro on his back. Inside the van, the group were sitting in the van's various seats, most of them fully equipped in their gear. Sitting in one of the middle row of seats, Riley was now dressed in one of the black bodysuits the others wore under their armor, with the transmitter in one hand and the Kitsune mask in the other. "You think it will work?" Sanus questioned. "It could send us into a coma again," Fear wailed. "Or worse!" "Or it could turn us into a superhero," Disgust argued. "Either way, we have to try," Joy stated firmly. Our friends are relying on us." With a resolute look on her face, Riley set the mask on the floor before she lifted the transmitter and placed it on her head, her ponytail sticking out from underneath it. Immediately, Riley felt a strange but familiar sensation rush through her mind. Glancing around, a smile slowly spread across her features. "It worked!" Joy screamed ecstatically. Turning her attention towards the jar of microbots sitting at her feet, Riley picked it up and placed it on her lap. Holding the jar steady with one hand, she held the other one above the lid. Instead of grasping the lid, Riley began to rotate her hand above it, causing the microbots inside to stir to life. Swirling around in circular motion, the microbots quickly crawled up the jar to the lid. Reaching it, the microbots latched onto the lid and began turning it from the inside. A second later, the lid popped off and the microbots quickly crawled out. Sweeping her hand down her other arm, Riley willed the microbots onto her limb, the tiny robots spiraling around it like she was holding a snake. It doesn't really specify yet what color that Riley's microbots are. Are they the same color as Yokai's? Or are they a different color entirely? I hope they're white. Would really go along with the Shiro Kitsune thing. Or to go with the duality of black and white, yin and yang, you could have the yo of yin, yang, yo, gray. So like, gray microbots? I'm gonna call them gray. Well, Fred observed from behind Riley. Looks like she's still got the skills to pay the bills. Seems like it, Riley agreed as she wiggled her fingers. Sorry, car noise again while I'm walking. Causing a few of the microbots to dance around across her digits, like she was doing a coin trick before she flicked her wrist. Causing the microbots to form a strand and scoop the mask off the floor and place it in her hand. Taking it in both hands, Riley slid the mask over her features, leaving only her blonde hair and the back of the transmitter exposed. "How do I look?" Riley questioned, her voice muffled by the mask. "Looking good, Fargo," Gogo commented from the front seat before she glanced over at Tip. "Sorry we couldn't whip you up a costume in time." Don't sweat it, Tip replied as she reached into her pocket, pulled out a pair of aviator sunglasses and slipped them on. I've got my costume right here. Gogo snorted in amusement, earning a smile from Tip as she turned her attention back towards where she was flying. You guys all set over there? Hiro questioned, his voice coming over the communicators each of them had. Hearing you loud and clear, good buddy, Fred answered jovially. So, do we have a game plan or something this time? Wasabi questioned as he glanced around at the others. Because last time we did this, we didn't have one and got our asses handed to us. I think I might have one, Honey spoke up. Lay it on us, Fred urged. We could have Riley talk to him, Honey stated simply. A confused silence fell over the van. Care to run that by us again? Gogo requested. Listen, Riley was able to talk Hiro down from something drastic, Honey explained. Maybe she can do something similar for Professor Callahan. I don't know, Riley stated nervously. Hiro wasn't exactly trying to kill me or anything. I don't think Callahan will let me close enough for something like that. Then maybe you'll have to use more persuasive means, Honey replied, looking slightly uncomfortable as she did. Wait, Fear whispered. Does she mean... Do you mean I should mess with his head? Riley questioned, clearly taken aback. Look, I know there's no rulebook for superpowers, but that feels like something I shouldn't do. You'll be alright, Riley. Just don't make the same mistakes that Miss Martian did in Young Justice, and you'll be alright. Then again, I haven't, actually watched... I have, watched a few episodes of Young Justice in my time. I have read that during the time skip in Season 2, Miss Martian, gets a bit cocky with her psychic powers and pays the price for it. I have got to start watching more Young Justice soon. Maybe I'll catch it on Netflix. I mean, the Season 3 is going to come out soon. I might as well catch up. Maybe not, but these are dire circumstances, Riley, Honey argued. Isn't it better if we can end this without anyone getting hurt? The question gave Riley pause, and she glanced around at the others, noting that each of them were looking at her with a mixture of hope and fear. They're worried about us, Fear whispered. But they're also counting on us, Joy countered. It's been a long time since... I remember calling Joy Joyce during my early videos, and I kind of stopped doing that. I still think that Joy's name is, I'm still going to call her Joyce, it's just that I haven't been doing it that much. I've just been focusing on, reading the story properly without changing Joy's name too much, but I think for this last stretch, I think that calling Joy Joyce from now on would be a good idea. Plus, I think calling Joy Joyce is, as always, it's a really nice name for her, alright? I'll see what I can do, Riley relented. Are you sure about this, Riley? Gogo questioned, her expression concerned. As I can be, Riley confirmed with a nod. This is all well and good, Wasabi stated with a sigh. But what's going to stop Callahan from crushing us with his microbots the second we show up? I think I have an answer for that, Hiro stated from over the comms. What? Tip questioned. Using the microbots relies on a certain amount of concentration, right? Hiro asked. Right, Riley confirmed. So if we can disrupt Callahan's concentration, he should lose control of the microbots, Hiro surmised. How are we going to do that? Honey questioned. Well, if you got some instruments in the van, you could just, have the rest of the team play a rock band or something. That will, cause a lot of noise, and will distract Callahan long enough for Riley to reach and talk to him. Or uses her psychic powers on him if he isn't in the mood to talk. If you don't have any instruments, well, go along with something else for a distraction. But you should really write that down. The instruments is a distraction thing. It could come in handy one day. Probably when you're fighting a musical opponent or an opponent who... Picture Man-Bat. Bats don't really like loud noises, do they? Except for Batman. He doesn't mind the loud noises from gunshots or from his more powerful gadgets, like the bat planes, the bat planes, gun turrets, stun bullets that he uses to stop helicopters, because he's Batman. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he not be bothered by noise? Then again, I don't actually remember. I think the only time I've seen the Batplane use like guns against enemies is in the Lego games that I played when I was young, and some clips of his finisher in Injustice 2. What am I doing? I'm getting off topic. So, Riley, how are we going to disrupt Callahan's concentration? With my powers, Riley realized. Okay, good idea. Right. Exactly, Hero confirmed. Morning. Sorry, Lola.
That's alright, that's alright. There's no problem.
I'm just recording myself reading this.
Oh.
Take care. Sorry, I was just having I just stopped for a quick chat. Lola was trying to chase a dog. I was keeping her from doing it too quickly. Anyway, let me try it again. Exactly, Hero confirmed. If Riley throws enough anger at him, Callahan won't be able to add 2 and 2 together, let alone control his microbots. Now this is my kind of plan, Anger chortled. That's just crazy enough to work, Fred commented with a grin. It had better be, Tip called back to the other occupants of the van, because KreiTech's coming up fast. Turning their attention towards the front of the van, the group could see the gleaming tower that marked the center of the campus. Disconcertedly, they could also make out multiple columns of smoke rising from the area. Guys, Fear whispered. Are we ready for this? We're going to have to be, Disgust replied. One way or the other. Yep, this is it, guys. Once we step in, there'll be no going back. It's been a wild roller coaster, this story. Starting from the beginning, I never really expected that doing a crossover story based off of Big Hero 6 Inside Out and Home to be, I never expected myself reading a crossover like this to be interesting. But I've looked back on some of the videos I've released, and I've noticed that most, if not most of my empathy videos have gotten some views. I'm actually really okay with this. It's not too many views, but it's still views. There are some people who are at least willing to pay attention to what I have to say, and even put up with my, emotional moments during some of the chapters, especially chapter 13. I still beat myself up a bit for not putting a headphone warning at the start of the headphone warning in the description so that everyone would know what they were prepared for. But I'm really glad that you guys, those who are watching, still appreciate what I'm trying to do for you guys. Introduce you guys to a story that you may have never seen before. I myself have watched Big Hero 6 and have managed to finish watching Big Hero 6 and Home over the course of this story. I never really got the chance to see Inside Out. I'll have to find a way to watch it someday. All the same, I'm really glad that there are some of you out there who are taking the time to watch these. Even though I doubt that not many people are going to, I still hope so. If you guys really enjoy my content, I would really like it if you guys could leave some comments on my videos. Just, I would be really happy if you guys were put in a word of praise or something. Just be honest and truthful about my work, about what I should do to improve the quality of these videos. I will try my best to improve on what you guys don't like, so it could be something you all like if you want. And I don't want to start making promises that I can't keep, but I will do my best to deliver great content for you guys. Really, all I'm asking in return is for you guys to leave more comments on these types of videos, because I really do enjoy this work. It's something that I really wish that I really love doing in my spare time, because stories like these, it's really something that I enjoy looking out for. I really enjoy reading them. I really enjoy these little moments where I get so into the story, I end up raising my voice a few times. At times when the characters raise their voices, I raise my voices with them. I'm just that engaged in the story, and I'm really hoping that you guys are engaged in the story too. I don't want to just have my videos be nothing but the entire story being slowly read to you guys. The stories, doing these types of videos where I'm reading the story out to you as I'm scrolling down, like I should be getting back to right now. It's something I really do enjoy doing, and I will do more fanfics of stuff that really interests me if you want me to. I'm personally planning on, I'm thinking about reading stories based off of Chippendale Rescue Rangers and the Animals of Farthing Wood, and possibly some other shows if I can, if I ever get the time to find some like SpongeBob SquarePants fanfics and all that stuff. Basically, recommend to me whatever fanfics whatever fanfic stories I should read, and I should do them. But not too many romance fics, like shipping fics. I'm not really interested that much into shipping fics for personal reasons. One of them mainly due to the fact that I still haven't found a girlfriend yet. But anyway. Basically, any story that I find interesting that I will read, and I would like it if you guys could find some for me to read as well. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, now that I've wasted about, like 5 minutes or more on that little, now that I've wasted about 5 minutes of your time, I'm gonna try and pick up the pace a bit. I might have to split this video up into 2 parts so it doesn't get too long. Meanwhile, deep in the heart of the KreiTech campus, a single room sat in the dark, protected by reinforced concrete walls and a heavy metal door. Suddenly, the room was illuminated by flashing red lights from the corners of the ceiling as a warning siren began blaring. A second later, there was a heavy thud against the door, followed by the screeching of metal as the heavy barrier was forcibly pulled apart. Then, in a shower of sparks and shrapnel, the door was ripped clear of its frame, allowing the harsh fluorescent light from the hallway beyond to flood in and fully illuminate the room. The light revealed that the room housed only a single furnishing, a thin pedestal made out of gunmetal gray steel, at the top of which was a square plexiglass case that contained a single gray ovular stone. A moment later, a shadow was cast over the case and its contents as Yokai stepped in front of it. Yokai looked down at the case for a moment before lifting his hand, causing his microbots to swarm up around the case and smash it open. Reaching out, Yokai took the object and held it up to his face so that he could take a better look at it. To think, he muttered. All that's happened. All this misery. Over this. Yokai sighed and shook his head before letting the microbots take the object from him. Keep it together, old man, Yokai stated. You've got a job to finish. With that, Yokai turned and began making his way back down the hall. Don't worry, Abigail, Yokai said determinedly as the microbot swarm swept him down the hallway. Daddy's coming. A few minutes later, Yokai entered the courtyard at the center of one of the campus's buildings where the portal gate had been set up. O, Smek, Krei, and Bill were currently working to set the portal gate up as the Gorg watched them work. Hearing Yokai's approach, the Gorg turned its attention towards the masked man. Did you find it? The Gorg questioned as the microbot set Yokai down in front of the alien. Right where Krei said it would be, Yokai stated as he held up the object for the Gorg to see. I'm actually quite interested in seeing what's inside of that little stone. If basically the rest of the story's events had been going on over this little rock, it must really be that important. Is it a Chaos Emerald? No, it can't be a Chaos Emerald. It's a gray stone. Could it be, the Rock of Eternity? No, the Rock of Eternity must be a different stone. I'm just clutching at straws here. Could it be a stone that, houses something inside of it? Like, something like the greatest treasure of all of humanity? The answer to the all-important question, where did life come from? No, we already know the answer. Life came from the Big Bang, and then all the planets were created, our solar system was created, our universes and multitude of multiverses were created, and then eventually our planet Earth was created, then the dinosaurs were created, then the meteors came down and the volcanoes erupted and the dinosaurs went extinct, and then the cavemen came, and then humanity just progressed from there. So it must be something else. The Gorg's eyes instantly focused on the object, and after a split second, it reached one of its sinuous arms to take it, prompting Yokai to pull the object out of the alien's reach. Instantly, the Gorg's furious gaze was turned towards Yokai, but the masked man did not so much as flinch. We had a deal, Yokai said coldly. You get this when I get my daughter back. And what would you do if I just took it from you? The Gorg questioned dangerously. Then I would crush this before you could so much as breathe on it, Yokai answered, the microbot swarming up his arm and covering the object to emphasize his point. And neither of us would get what we wanted. There was another long, quiet moment as the Gorg glared at Yokai. Very well, the Gorg said after the moment had passed. It will be simpler to honor our bargain. I'm glad we agree, Yokai replied as the microbots retreated from the object while the masked man turned his attention towards the portal gate. How are they doing? My slaves tell me that they should be completing it soon, the Gorg explained. Once they have, then we may make our exchange. At that same time, Bill and O were working side by side on the same portion of the portal gate. You are being Bill Anderson, yes? O whispered, not looking away from his work as he spoke. Yeah, Bill muttered back, glancing hesitantly at the strange creature next to him. How do you know my name? I am being friends of your offspring, Riley Anderson, O explained. Riley? Bill questioned in surprise. Yes, O whispered harshly. Why are you repeating what I has already says, and at much too loud a volume? Sorry. Bill apologized as he dropped his voice back to a whisper, glancing nervously at Yokai and the Gorg. But how do you know my daughter? I has met her, of courses. O explained like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Now, you must be listening to me. I am planning your escapes. My escape? Bill questioned. You are proving to be useful to the Master nows, but once Weezes opens the portal again, yous will stop being useful, O explained gravely. Yous do not want to stop being useful to the Master. Oh, so it's just like in, you know those comic books where the supervillain wants someone to do something for him, and then when they've done it, they're like, well done, you have outlived your usefulness, and then proceed to imprison or kill them or otherwise just discard them like trash. I have a feeling that is going to be what's going to happen to Bill and O once the portal is complete. And we can't have that happen, can we? Lola, come on. I'm doing my best to pay attention to Lola while I'm walking her while reading the story too. And I think I'm going to sneeze out. Achoo! Bless me. Sorry about that. Alright, Bill stated, trying to keep the apprehension out of his voice. What's your plan? I connected some wires in an intentionally incorrect way, so as to be shorting out the device, O explained. When it is being turned on, it should be creating many sparks and loud noises, creating such a distraction so as to facilitate your escape. Okay, Bill replied as he nodded in understanding. So when do you think that will be? Oh my. Those two are planning a great escape. Behold the Master! Smek suddenly declared, drawing everyone's attention to him. The portal opens this! As he spoke, the gate began to hum with power as the lights on it sprang to life. Then, suddenly, instead of a portal opening, a shower of sparks shot off the gate, followed by a series of bright flashes of light and the discharge of a few bolts of electricity. Everyone lifted their hands to shield their faces from the sparks, the light show accompanied by a cacophony of sound that left all of their ears ringing. After a few moments, the chaos passed and everyone slowly lowered their hands and blinked in confusion. I'm guessing that was a distraction. Bill surmises the others all turned their attentions towards him and O. Looks like the escape opportunity went by without... I don't want to say it, but it looks like those two are... screwed. Yes, O confirmed as he turned a bright shade of yellow. Run! With that, O turned and began running from the portal while waving his hands above his head and screaming at the top of his lungs. After blinking in surprise at O, Bill quickly followed the booth, running as fast as his legs could carry him. Stop them! The Gorg snarled, prompting Yokai to turn towards Bill and O, and thrust his arm towards them. Instantly, a swarm of microbots rushed after the two, scrambling across the open ground with alarming speed. Glancing back, Bill's eyes widened in horror as the microbot swarm rapidly approached, a strand whipping at his feet as the miniature robots drew closer. Bill was able to lift his foot out of the way in time, but the action caused him to lose his balance, sending him tumbling to the ground. Hearing the thud of Bill hitting the dirt, O turned his attention back towards him. As he saw Bill trying to stand up, O ran back to the man and attempted to help him to his feet. Hurry, Bill Anderson! O exclaimed. We must! O cut himself off as a shadow suddenly passed over the two of them. Looking up, Bill's eyes widened in horror as he saw the swarm of microbots surge into the air like a cresting wave before it came crashing down towards him. Oh no! Don't tell me you're gonna... Before the microbots struck them, a thumping boom ripped through the surrounding area before a ripple of air slammed into the swarm, sending the tiny robots scattering in 1,000 different directions. Oh good, they're safe. Blinking in surprise, Bill turned his gaze upwards in time to see Wasabi's van come swooping out of the sky. As Bill watched in astonishment, the van smoothly interposed itself between them and Yokai. Woohoo! Now that's what I call a dynamic entry! We are saved! O exclaimed jubilantly. Yeah, Bill whispered. But by who? By the Big Hero 8. And it looks like it's gonna go back to its original number. Number 9. Big Hero 9. As the van came to a stop hovering just above the ground, the rear door opened, allowing Riley, Wasabi, Honey, Fred, and Gogo to hop out. A second later, Baymax landed next to the van, allowing Hero to slide off his back. Oh, thank you, my friends! O exclaimed as he ran over to Gogo and wrapped his arms around one of her legs. Thank you for returning for me's! Of course, little buddy, Fred stated jovially. No one gets left behind. We never forgot about you, O. Never have, never will. You're one of us now. Now get off my leg and get in the van, Gogo ordered as she shook O off and opened the van's passenger door, prompting the booth to release her and crawl inside. Dad! Riley called as she rushed over to her father's side and helped him to his feet. Are you okay? Riley? Bill questioned, before his confusion gave way to fear and he gripped his daughter by the shoulders. Riley, what are you doing here? Rescuing you, Riley replied. Rescuing? Riley, these men are dangerous, Bill insisted. You have to get out of here. No, Dad, Riley replied with a shake of her head. We're the only ones who could stop this. Professor Callahan! Hero called as he stepped around the van, Baymax following after him. That's enough! You don't get to decide that, boy, Yokai spat. Pulling herself from her father's grasp, Riley walked around the van and stood by Hero's side, the others quickly joining them. We have to reach him somehow, Joy stated. Is this what Abigail would have wanted? Riley questioned. Yokai quickly turned his masked face towards Riley and she felt the shock roll off him, quickly replaced by the heat of anger. Don't you dare use my daughter's name against me! Yokai snarled, his hands clenching into fists. I'm doing this to save her! Do you really think he's going to give you what you want? Hero questioned as he gestured towards where the Gorg stood. Do you really think the two of you are going to make whatever exchange you're planning and just walk away like nothing happened? Whatever choice do I have? Yokai demanded. None! The Gorg answered from behind him, drawing Yokai's attention towards him. Not if you want your spawn back alive. Don't listen to him, Professor, Riley pleaded. We can help you. Slowly, Yokai turned to face the group again. No. Yokai stated with a shake of his head, and Riley could feel a pang of sadness emanate from him. You can't. Riley! Hero said sharply as he turned to look at her. Anger! Joy called out. I'm ready, Anger replied eagerly. Professor Callahan, stop! Riley shouted, pushing a bit of anger into Yokai's mind as she did. The sudden flash of rage caused Yokai to shake his head in disorientation before he turned to face Riley. And if I don't? Yokai questioned dangerously. Then I'll stop you, Riley replied as she held her right hand over her left arm, causing one end of the strand of microbots wrapped around her arm to lift up like a snake preparing to strike. The action seemed to give Yokai pause, and he studied Riley for a moment before he cocked his head to the side. Alright guys, I believe this is the time for us to stop here. I'll read this little next bit in the next video. I hope you all enjoyed, and part 2 will be coming soon. But until then, I'm the Masked Ranger saying, keep moving forward, and get ready. It's about to get wild.